Jesse, how do Dave said I had to mute everybody. How does that happen?
Yeah, you click on, let's see if I can get my mouse over there.
Everybody
if you
is already
click,
muted for you.
yeah.
Okay, thank you. And they can unmute themselves if they want to talk, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Jesse, you'll actually need to unmute them.
Oh, I can do that.
Yep. So you can just let participants know they can chat in the box, or they can click whatever button you want them to click, or the little emoji or whatever. But that's the best way to make sure that Dan stays on camera.
Got it.
And then I'm going to throw our YouTube live link in. And
Perfect.
I think that's everything. For the 20 some people that are on us with Zoom and the handful that are jumping on YouTube, welcome to the 5 o'clock session. Dan is going to be sharing some incredible expertise. And Dan, if you want to introduce yourself, and then Jess, go ahead and introduce yourself as the mod.
Okay, great. I'm Dan McGuire. And I'm really honored to be able to participate in this series of idea sharing during a time when we need to share ideas. I'm the executive director of a small nonprofit that provides funding and services for K-12 and higher ed in support of engagement with open educational resources in a learning management system. I am a former elementary teacher in the Minneapolis Public Schools. I served for many years in Minneapolis on the District Technology Advisory Committee, which led me to learning how to use Moodle, which led me to getting involved with Mike Walker, John Fila, and all the people at 287 and the Minnesota Partnership for Collaborative Curriculum. Anyway, so that's the background. And go ahead, Jesse.
I'm Jessie Schmidt. I teach, actually, this is going to sound really weird. I teach kindergarten at a French immersion school in Edina, Minnesota. I am your mod for tonight, and I'm getting my master's in technology integration to be a tech coach. So kind of how I got pulled in. But let me know if you want in the chat, just chat with me. I can give questions to Dan. Otherwise, let me know if you want to speak. I need to unmute you. And I look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Jesse. Great to have you here. So here is my contact information. You can put questions in the chat, and then Jesse will alert us that you have a question. You can use my email address for things after the session. You can use Twitter. I'm at Sabier. That's one of my Twitter handles. And there's also a document in the presenter document, which you're welcome to use. And it's a Google form, which you can submit questions that if you're more comfortable putting them there than in the chat, please use that. And I promise I will respond in any of those venues. So what problem am I addressing with this session? Well, I came up with the description of that problem during Mike Walker's session on Friday. And Mike presented this quote. I think he's articulating what he has been observing teachers doing during this pandemic. It's also what I've been observing. I haven't actually observed anybody, but I've talked to teachers, and we've talked to other tech integration people. And one of the common themes that keeps coming up is that teachers are trying to figure out how to best replicate the walking around the classroom, giving quick formative feedback and asking questions, how to do that in this environment. And of course, teachers are missing the spontaneity of the classroom. And as Mike suggested, what we need is more assignment turn-in for formative assessment. And I agree with him, and that's why I use that quote to kind of lead this off. The theme for this session is about using open educational resources with a learning management system. I'll say a little more about OER, which is the short version of open educational resources, later, but you don't really need to know much about it. You just need to be able to find it and get it into your learning management system. And as far as learning management systems, most schools are using either Moodle, Schoology, Canvas. Now, in a few other states, some schools are using D2L, and there's a bunch of private schools that are using something called Blackbaud, and a very few schools are using Blackboard. And you may know that Blackboard was at one time the most widely used LMS in the US. And Moodle is the LMS that is used by the most educational institutions globally. And of course, in the US, lots of schools are using Google Classroom either instead of an LMS or along with their LMS. Now, personally, I think using Google Classroom along with an LMS provides the most flexibility. And of course, Moodle was the first LMS I used, and it's still my favorite. On the Sabier site, we have an instance of Schoology, an instance of Canvas, and an instance of D2L. And I usually confuse myself going back and forth between them. The good news is I know somebody that knows more than I do about each of those. And that's one of the keys is, using your network and knowing who to go to get the help you need. That's one of the really important things about being a teacher. You got to know where to go to get the help you need. Now, why do we recommend using open educational resources with an LMS? Well, it's the way to walk around your online classroom, giving quick formative feedback and asking questions. And it's how you can keep track of who's doing what and who knows what. And it enables you to be as spontaneous as you're able. It will also enable you to make more assignments that are easier to turn in. And it's going to provide an easier way for teachers to provide feedback to students' work. And it's also going to provide a way for students, the students' classmates, to provide feedback. Now, there's a whole range of options for feedback from the teacher and the students, and I'll show you just a few. And I think I'll restate this. An LMS is a great way to keep track of everything. It's a management system, a learning management system, an LMS. And I'd like to just say now a couple of things. I just sat in on Lana Peterson and Tom Brandt's session last hour. And I'd like to say, if you're watching this session with me now, you need to watch their session too. I think you also need to watch John Fila's session that he presented at 10 o'clock this morning. And I will recommend for sure you watch Mike Walker's. And of course, I haven't seen any sessions in these last 2 days that I haven't said, oh my God, isn't this great to be a part of this? But I just want to call out those few because they tie in with the points that I'm specifically wanting to make. And you might be saying, but I use Flipgrid, VoiceThread, Nearpod, Mentimeter, Padlet, Answer Garden, Edpuzzle, and I like it, and my students know how to use it. Well, and then you say, I don't want to use an LMS. They're too complicated. Well, I'm not going to try to talk you out of using any of the tools that you're currently using. I'm not going to do that. And if you really don't want to use an LMS, then you can use the content I'm going to show you later with most of those tools. So it won't be a waste of your time. I'm certainly not going to recommend that you try to begin using an LMS from scratch this spring if you haven't already at least given one assignment of some kind to your class using an LMS. This is not the time to learn a new tool because, frankly, an LMS has complications. And the reason it does is because it does so many things, and that's what makes it complicated. I'll also strongly recommend that you use whatever LMS your school officially supports. Now, I know in some schools, people at one time used Moodle and they've switched to Schoology, so there's still some people using Moodle. Well, you know, that's a discussion, but if you haven't made your choice yet, use the one that's your school officially supports. This spring is not the time to be too much of a lone wolf. And using the LMS that your school supports is going to be the way that you can most easily get the support that you need. Now, open educational resources are really all about what the student does with the material. It's not about the licensing. It's about what the student does with the educational material. And so if you're saying, I don't want to learn about OER, they're too complicated. Well, again, you don't have to pay attention to the licensing. You really don't. You just need to understand that open educational resources provide you the ability to copy and modify it as much as you need. All you need to do is be able to find it and get it into your LMS. So you just know that you or anyone else has the legal rights to copy, modify, and redistribute that educational material. Now, using OER now will save you time in the future when you want to change things. Now you're saying, yeah, but I'm not thinking about the future right now. Well, doing things now that will be good for you in the future lessens our current anxiety. Now that's a philosophical quote from Dan that I don't know if it's actually true for you. It is for me. You know, working on remodeling our bathroom now relieves some of my anxiety. The other thing about a learning management system, as it says here on the screen, is it enables students to respond in a variety of ways, and then it enables teachers to provide the appropriate feedback or further direction. And it also provides a way for students to interact with each other. Now, those are both points that Lana and Tom made in the last hour. So I was like, oh yeah, right. They give you a little more of the theory than I'm going to give you. But if you want to know why that's true, they have some references that'll tell you why. So one of the things that I want to stress for you today is to encourage you to use content that already exists so you can more easily and more quickly create more assignments to turn in for more formative assessments. And let's use the content in a way that makes it easier for you, the teacher, to provide some personalized feedback to your students. That's what personalized learning is really all about, in my opinion. It's how a teacher provides that personal feedback to the student that in the way that the student needs it. It's not about having an algorithm on a machine do something. And let's make it easier for students to give feedback to each other. Now, again, I'll refer you to Tom and Lana's session from last hour about the importance of building community. That's one of the other things that I'd like to stress here is that building community is really important. And it will help increase a sense of belonging for students. That's one of the things students really need these days. The OER content I'll start with today has been created by Minnesota teachers, and the content is aligned to Minnesota standards. Now, if you're chiming in from another state, welcome. We're glad to have you. And there's a way to cross-reference those state standards and or the CSS or whatever standards you're using. If you need help with that, just send me a note and I'll help you get those cross-referenced. So now let's take a look at the courses in the Minnesota Partnership for Collaborative Curriculum, or MPCC. So I'm going to go to that website. Now, I'll go back to the beginning of the website. This is the opening page, and it's oermn.org. You click on our courses, you scroll down just a little bit to our Moodle site, and you'll see here a list of courses. There's more than 40 of them, and in a few minutes, I'm going to give you some time to browse through these courses. But first, I'd like to show you one specific course so that we can go over some of the features and how these courses are organized. All of the courses are organized similarly. And again, let me stress, I think the MPCC courses are one of the best kept secrets in the state. And they're maybe one of the best kept secrets in the country because it's good quality content that's fairly easy for teachers to get at. That's why I'm showing them to you today. I'm going to start by showing you one course in science, and we'll start with the first one, grade 3 science. Now, one of the things I want you to notice is that the courses in the MPCC have been designed so they can be easily printed out as worksheets for students. Now, that's what the majority of the member districts wanted when the courses were put together. So, as I mentioned before, all of these courses were put together by Minnesota teachers who were paid by the MPCC money that was collected from the member districts. So these courses are really a grassroots initiative. And there's over 200 districts in Minnesota have contributed to this collection. It's really that's why I say it's one of the best kept secrets. It's really a phenomenal example of collaboration and sharing. There's enough content in each of these courses for a full year's worth of work in each of those disciplines for each of those grade levels. So in this third grade science course, there's enough content for a third grade teacher to use to cover all of the Minnesota state standards for a full year. Now, right now, and for the next 3 weeks, here's the good news. You don't have to worry about all year. You really only need to go in here into the course level you want to go to and pick out enough content for the next 3 weeks to a month or so. We can worry about what you're going to do next fall later. Hopefully we'll get a little breather before, and we'll figure out how that's going to work. And if you don't like a particular item of content, you can use that as a placeholder, if you will, and then go look for content that's better. And I'm going to show you later some of the places where you can go look for content to substitute. And all the places I'm going to show you are also OER, or Open Educational Resources, and they're free, and it's perfectly permissible for you to use them and copy them. So let's take a look at a couple of the lessons in this 3rd grade science course so you can get a feel for how things are structured. So first of all, let's look at this one. This is a great educational video. I'm not going to play it for you now. You can go there and watch it if you like. But so this is a video that's been embedded in a Google Doc. And so if you were going to use this in a class, you would, of course, the students would need to have a way to view this. I'm going to go back to the course now. And then let's take a look at the Bee Scientist quiz. So this is a quiz that a teacher would print out and hand out to the students in a face-to-face classroom. And of course, the students circle a correct answer. Teacher collects all the papers and then corrects them and passes them back to the student, and makes notes or provides feedback as they're being passed back or when. That's how you do it in a face-to-face classroom. I'm going to show you in a minute how we translate this into being able to be used in an online classroom. Before we move there, though, I want to look at least one other example of some content in this 3rd grade classroom. I'm going to move down here to the energy unit. And there's a bunch of fun stuff in here. I'll just throw this out. If you're a 3rd grade teacher or a 4th grade teacher even, and you're looking for some activities, these are all great activities with instructions, and they're all aligned to the energy standards. It's good stuff. So let's look at this Marble Madness activity. The reason I'm picking this is because it's a simple one. It's just an easy activity that students can do. And notice the directions here was set up. Your teacher will set up the stations. Well, we're not going to do that online, but it also says you could do these on your own at home. What you need to do this is 5 marbles. And of course, and you're also going to need some kind of device to video record this. And you'll need a partner if you're doing it at home. It's because you have to do the action here, which is line up the 4 marbles, thump them, and watch the energy traveling from one marble to the next. Okay, so it's a simple lesson, and it is a good way to demonstrate how energy travels through matter. The directions here are to video record the activity and explain what happens. So we want the students basically to use some language skills to explain what happens. Now, of course, they can either do that by writing them out or by adding a short audio or video when they explain it. This directions ask them to add the document to their science journals. Okay, So that's the course in the MPCC as it stands. Now, what I want to do is, I'm going to go back here. I want to give you just a couple of minutes to browse through, go ahead and go to this website and browse through these courses for a minute or two, just to take a look to see how the content is laid out. And then I'm going to give you a chance to ask questions about this content. So go ahead. And again, notice that this content has been designed to be printed out and passed out to students. What I'm going to show you next is how you put this content into an LMS so that you can provide feedback and student voice.
Dan, we did have a question. Do you know how often the content is updated?
How often it's updated? No, I don't know how often. Currently, the reason, as you'll note, the one answer is it's as often as you want to update it, because you are, whoever is viewing it is welcome to update it. And there's a document in every course to submit updates. So the answer is, how often do you want to update it? That's the thing about OER. You get to own it. It's not somebody else's material. You own it. Now, and so that's the other thing. The MPCC doesn't have any staff to go in and do that. So it's actually depends on how often and how many people are using it. That's one of the things about OER. It's kind of a shift in thinking. It's like, oh, I'm responsible for this now. Any other questions about the content?
You can put questions in the chat, or let me know and I can unmute you, but you'll need to put it in the chat.
Okay. And you can also go to that document and put them in there if you'd rather do that. Okay, so I'm going to move on now, and I'm going to show you an example of that same third grade science course that's been made into a fully online course. So here is that same course. You'll see Unit 1 is the nature of science and engineering. I'll open that up. And we come down here and see the same bee scientist. Now, in this case, that video has been embedded in the introduction to a quiz. So watch this video about a scientist who works with bees, then answer the questions below. So what we've done is we've put those questions right into Moodle. I'm just going to give you a quick, we'll attempt the quiz now. So here are those same questions, and I'm not going to go through them all, but you can see that if you answer the questions and then you move to the next page, I'll just, these are wrong, a couple of wrong answers, but I'm just going to click through here now to show you what, if you've never seen what a quiz looks like. Now, this is the last question, and this is a question that we put in there to provide an opportunity for students to go beyond the content of the quiz. So what are the questions that this video makes you think about? If you have ideas that you want to explore, write them in here. If this makes you think about something else, you can add it here. Now, the other thing I would encourage teachers to do is, because you can add videos, audio, images, I would encourage students to maybe make their own video, trying to copy it as best they can, especially in this kind of environment when they have some time. Let students, make a video about what they would like to, what kind of scientists they would like to be. And they can, this is the place for them to contribute that. I'm going to show you another way to get student. Now here's the shows that I haven't. I'm going to submit and finish. So, and then this tells me, here's what's happening here is you're getting immediate feedback from the quiz. And as a teacher, you also have the ability to go in and add feedback to these quizzes at a later time. So you can see what the students have done, and you can add some feedback, maybe direct them to the part of the video that they want to go to. So a teacher has the ability to provide that individual feedback. This particular quiz has been set up so that students can take it over again. I think, and the reason it was set up that way was to encourage some mastery for students. So this isn't a set up to be any kind of summative assessment. This is set up so that students learn about the concepts of being a scientist, the scientific method. And so we want to, give them as many different opportunities and ways of looking at that as we can. So, we let them take the quiz over again until they get it right. And then when they get all the answers right, they go, oh, now I got 100%. That's what we're looking for. And I think that's, in this day and age, and this time, it's probably really important. I'm going to show you another way we're going to jump down to the energy unit, just to show you that marble madness again. So here's two different versions of what you can do with that marble madness activity when you take it online. This is just the same directions, and this is a case where it gives you the same directions, video record the activity, and then if you submit, as a student, then you click here and you add the submission, and it just pulls up a screen for the student to add their submission. They can add a video. They have to add the video to it. They can add text or images. This is the place where students can then this is where we invite their expression. This is how we give, and by inviting them to express their ideas, we'll be increasing that sense of belonging and decreasing that sense of isolation. All right, I'm just going to skip back to this again. So that was a way to set it up in a assignment turn-in. Here's the second way to do it. This way we're setting it up as a discussion. So we ask students to do the activity, take the video, and then submit your video here as a new discussion prompt. So, and this is probably one of the best ways to increase that sense of community, is you get every student, and of course what the students are going to do is they're going to make they're going to get creative and have fun with this. Well, and that's fine. And I know when I was in the classroom, this type of activity was one of the students' favorites. They would, of course, try to outdo each other in their videos. And it's where they really had fun, and they were learning something as they were doing it. And they were, creating their community. So I'm not going to walk you through the process. I think most of you have taken some kind of online course, so you know that you can create your own prompt and discussion. So what we're going to end up with is 30 different discussions, and then we can go in and reply to each of those discussions. And that way we'll get more discussions about what the activities are. And of course, the students will have fun with that too. So that's, I'm going to move back now out of this assignment and take you to what I showed you there was what I think are the 3 types of activities to start with for using an LMS. The assignment turn-in, a discussion, or it's called a forum in Moodle, or a quiz, or if you're using Google Classroom, that would be a forum. And of course, Google Classroom has variations on all these too. Now, a page, that's what's commonly used in lots of LMSs. And I would suggest that you only use a page when you don't need to collect information from the student. And you use a page when you don't want students to interact with each other. A page is what you use when you're just pushing out information to a student. All of these other activities are ways to include students, to hear their voices, and create community around the learning activity. And here again, I've given you a couple of some more detail on using the assignment, the forums, and the quiz. The assignment is what you use if you just want to talk to the student. Now, of course, and if you're using Google Classroom, and now it's also possible in most of the LMSs, is to have group work in the assignment. And so there's more and more opportunities for doing that. So the ways to create that community and that discussion around the student work is being increased. And use a form, I say use it for check for understanding, but then again, if you start the quiz with a video prompt and then provide them some opportunity for open-ended questions or to create something, and encourage them to use more different types of responses than just checking a multiple choice answer. In the quiz I gave you, I only had one open-ended question, but I would, that's where you want to move to get students to using more and more different types of activities. That's going to increase their voice. Again, just to reiterate that point, as a 3rd grade teacher, I always stressed writing in complete sentences and making reference to the text, the video, or the source that we had started with. And then use video, music, pictures, or drawings. Now, drawings are a good thing for some students, especially the younger grades, or actually any grade. There's lots of students that would rather draw. And so encouraging that, I think, is a great way to provide them a sense of belonging. Use that skill and that talent and that interest that they have in drawing as a way to respond to that academic content. Okay, now I'm going to shift a little bit and show you, we started at 3rd grade science. Now I'm going to move to and show you what you can do on the other end and show you a high school chemistry book. So this is how you can use a whole book in an LMS if you want to. This course, now I can just make your head spin by strolling through this. This one hasn't been subdivided into different topics, which we should do. But I left it out like this just to show you how much content is in there. Each of these, I'll just pull one of these up. Each of these pages is a link to another page in a LibreText book. And these pages go on for, and you can go for pages. This course includes something in the neighborhood of 450 pages of a textbook. And I'll move back here. It also includes, so this course is a collaboration between Andrew Lyman Butler, who was a chemistry teacher in Minneapolis Public Schools. He's now in med school at the U, and he had created the quizzes in this course. And one of the features of these quizzes is that their students, again, like the 3rd grade course, the students can retake the quiz as often as they want, and the problems are shuffled, and many of the item types are questions that present a different set of variables in each attempt. And that way, of course, students can't copy each other, and the student, if you allow them to take the test again, which I would say is a good learning activity, allow the students to take the test over again. Each time they're going to look at this quiz, they're going to get a different set of variables for the same conceptual problem. So they're going to have to understand the concept and not just be able to manipulate the variables. It's a great learning tool, and that's one of the things you can do with an LMS. I'll also mention that Denise Crafting from the Iowa Online Professional Development Program contributed a lot of these subtopics and images. This textbook is also thanks to the collaboration of LibreText and Delmer Larson and his staff. We're actually working with LibreText to help them increase their K-12 OER offerings. LibreText started out as primarily a higher ed, but they're intending to increase their library of higher ed offering, of elementary offerings. And LibreText is, I think Delmer would say it's the largest open educational library in the world, and I think that's accurate. But this is a great, and if you, by the way, if you know of any chemistry teachers who are looking for content to use in a fully online, give them my contact information and I'll send them this course, and they can pull whatever content they want to out of here to get them through the rest of this year. It's a phenomenal resource. Now I'm going to move. Here's a quote. Now I don't know if this was from Mike Walker's session on Friday or if it was from another tweet that I saw on Friday. There was so much information. I got information overload on Friday and some of my notes weren't as thorough as they maybe should have been. So I'm using this quote from either Mike or somebody else, and it comes from Vincent Tinto's article about retention to persistence. And this is an article in Inside Higher Ed that talks about what you need to do to keep students in school. And what Tinto has summarized here is what you need is students' self-efficacy, a sense of belonging, and a perceived value of the curriculum. And I'll assert that that's also true for K-12 students at every level. We need to create that self-efficacy. We need to create that sense of belonging. And we need to give them value in their curriculum. I think one of the problems that some teachers are having these days is how to get good content to students. And I mean, students know if they're just going to a website just to do stuff, to keep busy. They want to be involved. They want teacher feedback. They want feedback from their peers on the learning activities. That's what creates the perceived value in the curriculum for them. And I think Tom and Lana's session last hour was also stressed that. Now here's some of the other places that you can go to look for OER content. And I'm just going to briefly make a couple of comments about them. Just to summarize for you, CK12 is a great resource. Many of their lessons are used in the MPCC courses. OER Commons has lots of content. They tend to be smaller pieces. There aren't big units and courses in there. They're small little 1 or 2 page resources. Now, PhET, if you've never heard of that, that's a really wonderful site out at the University of Colorado. It is mostly physics and chemistry, but they have quite a few elementary science activities, all the way up to higher ed science activities. And these are the activities that students go to that website, do the activity. Now, there's not a way to get that information back to the LMS. So what we've done in some of those MPCC courses is sent students to PhET or Concord, which is another great science activity. You set the course up and you give them a link, and then you say, come back to the LMS and tell me what you learned when you were doing that activity. So as a teacher, you'll want to write the question either in the assignment or the quiz or the discussion as to, so what did you learn and what did you like about doing that activity? So that's how you tie in those kinds of sites. Merlot, Khan Academy, those are good resources. Khan is really expanding their offerings. Eureka Math is like the MPCC. It's a full range of math content. Again, it was set up to be a source for printing out documents and creating worksheets. So in order to get that into your LMS to make it a fully online class, you're going to have to cut and paste and do some tweaking in either a quiz or an assignment. It's doable and it's solid content. And then I've listed LibreText there, which, as I said before, is mostly higher ed, and they're expanding into K-12. Now, all of these, the trick is, how do you get the content out of there into your LMS so you can do that interactive work with the students, so you can provide the feedback, so their peers can provide the feedback. That's what's true of all of these. Now I'm going to just summarize here. Here's a summary of what the LMS enables. It enables students to work to align standards. We want to have teacher feedback archived in a central place. If your LMS is set up, you can have that feedback, summative feedback pumped right into the student information system. An LMS helps with accessibility. And by the way, if you haven't seen John Fila's session, which he did to 10 o'clock this morning. You shouldn't miss that. He goes over all the ways to make your content more accessible. The other thing about using an LMS for your content is it makes it easier for teachers to share with each other. And you can share, right now Moodle is creating a global Moodle net, so you can share your content with teachers all over the world. And again, why OER? So for accessibility, personalization, equity assessment, and quality assurance. Now, I haven't said much about equity, but it's really important. And the reason you use OER is so you, the teacher, can make those modifications so that it addresses the equity issues. And you, the teacher, are the one who knows what those equity issues are in your classroom. And so if you have the OER content, then you can make those adjustments.
Dan, sorry to
Yep.
interrupt, but we are running out of time and we need to turn over the room.
Okay, here's the contact information. Again, ask me any questions that you need. It's really been an honor to be a part of this group, and thank you. Have a great final 3 weeks of the year. Thanks.
Dan, thanks so much for sharing your expertise with OER with the room today. Definitely a lot of great information and experience. I was a third grade teacher back in the day also, so it was nice to hear that tie of like, hey, maybe I could do that one day. Sure. I think Jesse's got just a couple of final notes for our participants, and then we'll close up.
Yes, I will be putting in the chat the link to the CEUs so that you can get credit for watching. I will also share where you can go after this. We'd love to see your face on Flipgrid, sharing what you've learned, as well as there is a lounge space where we can share what we've learned. I will be sharing those in the chat momentarily.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you, Dan. I definitely want to encourage everyone to jump back on at our 6 o'clock session, as well as complete the CEU form, because within that CEU form, there's a reflection area where you can be reflective in your own thought processes, but then you can also provide us feedback through a second form that's right at the very end of that page. We definitely want to continue learning and growing on how to do this. For all the information, you can head right to the MNDL Summit website, mndlsummit.org. And it looks like Jessica slid that into a chat where we can't see it. So there we go. Zoom is just a little funny on how that goes, but just head right back over to the MNDL Summit website. And then we are closing the Google Meets in opting for the Flipgrid. So just encourage more or engage more on that Flipgrid piece. Have a wonderful 8 minutes, and we hope to see you in the next room at 6 o'clock.
Thanks, Dave.